Hell in the Cell 2019 is in the books. Ladies and gentlemen, holy shit, what did we just see? What's going on, everyone? Welcome to my GoodMicWork commentaries review of Hell in the Cell 2019. Doing this one a little bit different. In the last probably year or more, I've been up here live reacting to all of the pay-per-views. Doing an on-camera live, watch along. And I kind of missed doing the old pay-per-view reviews, after the show. So I decided to change things up, and I've got another kind of big announcement later. And because of that, I've been doing a few things around the house, which is why I'm not on camera. So this is going to be another off-camera podcast. The audio will be available just like all of the podcasts. So check over on my website later on tonight. You can catch me on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, Spotify, and all that stuff. So this will be an actual podcast review, and we're going to talk about this show, and we're probably going to start with the main event and kind of work backwards. Because we got a lot of disappointment. And for once, I am going to be firmly on the side of the complainers. For those of you that want to stand up and complain and shit on everything WWE related, I normally resist that. But tonight, I'm on team shit on WWE. What the hell were they thinking, man? That was a terrible finish to a main event. I mean, first of all, it's a Hell in the Cell. This is the type of match that they promote as no escape, no in, no out. It's the most satanic, demonic structure, all these crazy descriptive words to try to push this thing as some sort of, a hell on earth type of situation, but it's not. There's a referee in there who called for the fucking bell. You had a no finish in a match that I didn't think you could have non-finishes in. Or I don't know if it was a DQ. I don't know what the hell they were doing there. The fans did not like it at all. Chanted AEW. I heard some very loud AEW chants, which I thought was kind of funny. And we had a lot of restart the match chants. I was kind of half-ass hoping they'd call an audible and maybe have Bray challenge for the title, or have the referee or somebody, maybe Vince, come out and say, restart the match or whatever. But they should. Exactly, Joey G. I'm reading the chat here as I'm talking. Pay-per-view gets a D for disappointment. I think overall the talent, worked hard and put on a few great matches. We'll talk about those matches as we go through here. But overall, just that finish alone, man. We speculated on this too. We talked about the non-finish possibility if WWE finds themselves in a rock and a hard place. My argument was, if you're not going to put the belt on The Fiend, then don't have him in this fucking match. But maybe they thought they might want to put the belt on him, and then they changed their mind, and now they're stuck. So you have to do a finish like this in order to keep Bray Wyatt strong, because what did he take? 10, 11 stomps? Along with toolboxes, chairs, ladders, and sledgehammers to the face. And he's kicking out at one, and he keeps coming. And he kind of rose up at the end. It was just such a mess of a finish. I thought when the mandible claw hit on Seth, that should have been your finish. The match should have never been stopped. It shouldn't matter what they brought into that ring, shy of a gun or a knife. I don't understand why they even did it this way. It was just very, very disappointing, and something that just wasn't really well thought out, in my opinion. But I guess technically it keeps Bray Wyatt strong. But my argument was the whole time, how can you have any other outcome here other than him winning the title? Otherwise I feel like it's going to ruin him a little bit. But I don't think it really ruined his character, because he did come off like a monster with all the punishment he took. But the ending was so incredibly disappointing, this might wind up hurting him in the long run. At least that's what I can gather from all of you, from what you guys are saying online. So this, where do they go from here is anybody's guess. I'm assuming we're going to have a return match, but what's on the horizon. It's Crown Jewel. Luckily, Seth is already kind of booked for that in that Hogan-Flair match, so I don't think the rematch will happen there. And now you got Survivor Series on the horizon, and look at what we have sitting in front of us, boys and girls. If they stick with the champion versus champion format for Survivor Series, I guess we're going to get Seth Rollins and Brock Lesnar again. All this time. And I know I'm kind of going off topic here, but all this time, since Seth Rollins beat Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam, I've been wondering why. Why did they take the belt off of Seth to give it to Brock, just to give it right back to Seth? That made no sense to me. His win was convincing at WrestleMania. I didn't think he needed to beat Brock a second time, but maybe they had him beat Brock that second time in order to give Brock his win back at Survivor Series, but you still have Seth very, very strong, considering that he's got two big victories over Brock this year, and it might help establish Brock more on the SmackDown brand. Not that Brock needs establishing, but maybe that's why they did the dual victory for Seth over Brock, because they plan on giving him one back at Survivor Series. But he's got Cain Velasquez ahead of him at Crown Jewel. But, as it stands right now, we're going to get Seth Rollins and Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania, SummerSlam, and Survivor Series. Is that a good idea? I don't think it is. But I guess still a lot can change between now and Survivor Series, and I don't know when or if Bray Wyatt's going to get another shot prior to that, if they do something on Raw or what. But and we got the draft, don't forget, coming up this Friday. It kicks off. So this coming Friday and the following Monday will be the WWE draft. These guys could be separated by then. I don't know what they're going to do in the draft. We're going to do a whole separate video on that. The only thing I care about is that Michael Cole is on separate brand of Sasha and Roman Reigns, so I don't have to hear him scream their nicknames. That's all I really care about. But with the draft coming up now, you got a million unanswered questions here, and I just don't know what they're going to do. I think Bray Wyatt winning the title would have been fun because that Survivor Series match I just mentioned would have pitted Bray Wyatt against Brock Lesnar. How fun would that have been? And I've talked about that matchup too. No point in talking about it now. But overall, it was a big, big disappointment, and I'm going to agree with all of you that want to give this pay-per-view a shitty grade. And on top of everything else, not only did they disappoint the hell out of us, and by the way, thank you to the Super Chats. I see them now. I am going to answer those. I've got a $20 one in here from, I can't see your name, brother, but I'll find it. Chris Ludecki. I will get to your Super Chat as well as the other ones that are in here. I appreciate that. Now, damn, I lost my train of thought. Hell, what the hell was I talking about? Oh, sorry, I started reading. See, that's the problem with live podcasts, is I was reading the chat there, and I got sidetracked. No, Eric, Seth did not win. We were just talking about that. The referee called for the bell, which just... Oh, there's the Fiend in the chat here now as well, so that's great. Oh, yeah, thank you. The Michael Cole and Sasha Banks and Roman Reigns stuff. Yeah, so with the draft coming up, all these unanswered questions and all of these separations and this talent moving around, you know, you could really do anything. And I was excited about the possibility of a Bray Wyatt and Brock Lesnar match at Survivor Series. And now we're going to get the same old Seth versus Brock unless they do some sort of a quick title switch prior to then. I don't know. It kind of feels like they had a chance to really get different. Think about the way the wrestling landscape has changed over this past week. This was one of the biggest weeks in the history of the wrestling business. Last Monday night's Raw season premiere. Then we had AEW versus NXT week 1 on Wednesday, followed by the huge SmackDown show on Fox, which I'll talk about later. I was there live to see that. And now we're following it up and capping it off with a Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. You know, this was a big week, and they had a chance to kind of separate Monday Night Raw from the other shows by going in a really crazy direction with Bray Wyatt as champion and maybe give that show a different look than the other couple of shows. But they chose to go in a different direction, and that's a shame. I was really kind of hoping that they would, you know, just kind of give Raw that different identity. I talked about how Raw really felt like it slipped down 2 notches and it has become the C show overnight, you know, which sucks, you know, for them. So they should do something drastic. They should do something different. You know, Seth Rollins is kind of a bland, sort of a boring babyface champion. I understand and agree with most of those criticisms. I don't go too hard on the guy. I don't think he's the worst draw ever. I think he's pretty awesome, and there was a time when most of the audience respected the shit out of Seth. But much like Becky Lynch, he just kind of wears out his welcome, and before they're champion, everybody wants them to be champion, but once they're champion, they're over it, they're sick of it, get out of their lives type of thing. Becky Lynch is going through the same thing. So, you know, WWE had an opportunity here to, you know, kind of pivot and go with Bray Wyatt and just have some really unpredictable TV on Monday Night Raw, because you don't know what to expect with this guy, with his presentation and a severed fucking head lantern that he carries to the ring, and him basically being impervious to pain. In that match, Seth brained him. I mean, chair shot to the head. I thought those were banned. You know, just bludgeoned him to death. They had that big mallet. They had chairs. They had everything but the kitchen sink. Literally, even a toolbox out there that was being smashed in the face of Bray Wyatt. And I guess that mask really protects him because he just kept coming and he just kept coming. So, you know, that was some spooky shit. And if he would have won the belt, you would have said to yourself, well, who wins it from him now? Who the hell takes the title from The Fiend now? He survived 10 stomps, you know, toolboxes, ladders, chairs, sledgehammers, and shotguns to the face, and he kicked out at 1. Who the fuck's going to beat him? That would be kind of fun, just to sit there and wonder when and how it would even be possible to get the belt away from that monster. I think that would have been fun TV. It would have been fun TV. This was such a letdown. You know, and it looks like Bray's going to be getting another chance and everything, but with Crown Jewel and Survivor Series and everything like that on the horizon, I don't know when that time will be. So the draft could change a lot of things. But you guys correct me if I'm wrong. If you had to guess, doesn't Bray Wyatt feel like a Raw character? Doesn't he feel like more of a USA Network guy than a Fox guy? So I think in the long run, Bray will stay where he's at. But I don't know. I'm just kind of bummed out because for once I was hoping to see something, and normally I don't give a shit. If this was just a regular match with two regular wrestlers, if Seth Rollins is in there with AJ Styles or something, I wouldn't have given Raccoon's turd who won the match. I really wouldn't. And I wouldn't care what the fans were complaining about after the fact. But me personally, I just think it would have been fun to watch Bray Wyatt as the champion, especially with the showing that he put on against Seth. The way he was coming back and, Undertaker 1990 style. Selling everything, selling nothing, and just keep coming no matter what's happening to him. I liked that, and I thought it would have been fun. So, I'm not going to go overboard with it and say the character's dead, there's no coming back for it, anything like that. I don't think it's an Asuka versus Charlotte at WrestleMania type of situation, but I think it is disappointing that they didn't go in that direction and put the belt on The Fiend. But before I go on more on that, I want to catch up a few of these super chats. I apologize for those of you who are listening on the podcast sites or have downloaded the audio and have to sit through this. I apologize, but this is currently live on YouTube, and I got to show love to my supporters. Chris Ludecki, thank you for the very generous $20, dude. I appreciate it. You write in, I'm never one of those guys to say I'm done watching WWE, but this one legit did it. I'm only watching NXT and AEW on Wednesdays, so I'm sorry this is my last super chat for a while. If you go live on Wednesdays, let me know. All right, brother, I appreciate it. I understand. I put something similar on Twitter, not to your level. I didn't say I'm not going to watch, but I did say that I'm normally not one of the people that will rush to judgment and shit on WWE minutes after the pay-per-view goes off the air. I try to think it through. I try to think about things long-term. A lot of fans just see what they see on the surface, and they don't think that sometimes it might not be best for a guy to win the way you want them to win or whatever in the long run. But this is one of the situations where I really feel like they blew it. WWE blew it. They should have gone with The Fiend. They did everything but put the belt on him. They did everything right in the match, having Bray Wyatt kind of be a monster like that right around Halloween time. This is Halloween. It's the month of October. It's pumpkins and scary masks and shit. This would have been a perfect time to put the title on him, and it would have just created so much excitement. But nope, no can do. But yeah, I'm going to be on the camp of the complainers for once. I'm going to be an asshole. Yeah, fuck you, WWE, you idiots. Let me answer a couple of more here from Spectra. Thanks for the $2, brother. I appreciate it. I super chatted a few minutes before the stream. Oh, I am sorry. I didn't even see that. I was kind of prepping for it. I apologize for that, and thank you for both of your donations tonight. It's always good to see you in here. You are awesome. Who else did I miss? And then I'll get back to what I was talking about. Stone Cold, thank you for the $5, dude. I appreciate it. The finish was bad, sure, but just hate WWE, and all the anger drives me crazy. If Bray won, he would defend it like Brock. Let's wait and see first. I understand. Hey, you know what, Stone Cold? Normally, you are echoing everything I say. I just think these are unique circumstances. I think we have a character here, unlike many in the sport, or in wrestling. I shouldn't say sport. Who am I? Mean Gene. You don't have too many characters that are this batshit and pushed to be this unstoppable. You've had some kooky ones like the Papa Shangos and others, but this guy is actually being pushed as a top of the card, world title type of guy, and an Undertaker level character with all the money and time that has been put in and invested in the character. I don't see how he can be anything other than world champion with as much as you've put into it. So that's why I kind of think, just based on the unique nature of the Fiend's character, why I think you should have struck while the iron was hot. Do it now, because the longer it goes on, the more it loses steam, the more we see it, the more it's exposed, and we start getting used to it, and Bray Wyatt matches are no longer an attraction, and it's not a big deal to see him out there anymore. I want to see him be champion and have his run before the fans get to that point, and before WWE has a chance to fuck him up. But they're already on the track to do that, based on what we saw tonight. So yeah, WWE, not cool, bros. Not cool at all. You've managed to disappoint me, and that's hard to do because I don't give a shit most of the time. Yeah, but quite disappointing, and hopefully WWE will do better. Let me get back to what I was talking about here, but first, I got a couple more super chats. I'm sorry. Stone Cold, AEW botched Omega match and was a DQ then when Moxley interfered, but AEW is perfect, WWE is not. Oh yeah, I'm sure you're going to get a lot of back and forth. I'm sure a lot of AEW fans are, voicing their opinions on this pay-per-view, and you know what? They have every right to do that. This probably makes them very happy, which is what's wrong with wrestling. You have fans that are actually literally happy that WWE put on a disappointing show tonight. They're happy. Shout out to Kayfabe News, who over the weekend tweeted out, "Die-hard wrestling fan," or self-proclaimed die-hard wrestling fan. wishes failure upon all wrestling promotions, and he's wearing like a New Japan shirt. Fucking hilarious and extremely true. So yeah, that's kind of the sad state of affairs we're in. It should be an exciting time. Instead, it can be a quite annoying time. Dominic Richardson, I appreciate your $2 as well. What was the 2 or 3 matches that was good tonight? We're going to talk about that, dude, as we go through. And I think I've got my 3 favorites. And shout out as well to Nathan Hansen for the $2. I didn't like the filler matches either. And Kalidum for the donation there. All right, I've caught those up. Let me get back into what we're talking about here so I don't bore the post-live audience. The overall card, we're going to talk about that now. Despite the disappointing main event, I thought the rest of the card was pretty decent considering that we had, up until Saturday, only 4 matches announced for this card. How fucked up is that? That's some WCW 1999 shit right there. I mean, what were they doing? They've been busy with the SmackDown move to Fox and all this stuff going on. It's almost like they forgot to book their pay-per-view. I thought it would have been hilarious if, like, the production team forgot to bring the cell with them. And then they have no way, unless they run to Home Depot and fucking build one. But with everything going on, I'm surprised no wires were crossed. But they got everything ready. They're in Sacramento, California tonight at the Golden One Center. I have no idea what the official attendance for this show was. It looked relatively full, but I don't know if I'd even say there was more than 10 or 11,000 in there by my eyes. I don't know what the official attendance will be. I guess we'll probably read that tomorrow. But the crowd, it felt like they started out hot and were great, but by the end, and a few of the matches that were really announced on the fly during Sunday afternoon were flat. And it's not really the crowd's fault in some of those occasions. The only 4 matches we had announced were the 2 women's title matches, the Seth and the Fiend match, and then the Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns tag. And other than that, WWE posted a tweet on Sunday, or today, before the pay-per-view, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 hours before the show, with like 4 matches announced in one tweet. They announced Lacey Evans and Natalya for the kickoff show. They announced Nikki and Alexa Bliss defending the tag team titles against the Kabuki Warriors. They announced Gable and Baron Corbin again, and the OC and the Viking Raiders and a mystery opponent, which turned out to be Braun Strowman. So they announced all 4 of those matches in one tweet. And then they had another match thrown together on the kickoff show in a backstage promo between Ali and Randy Orton. So they added that match to the card too, which I think gave us, a total of maybe 9 matches overall. So it was just stupid. I mean, this had the potential to be December to dismember. And I tweeted out earlier before the show that it was going to be up to the talent here. It's going to be up to them to be able to come through and, at least give us good in-ring matches to where it saves the pay-per-view. They've done that before. We've had some pretty lackluster looking cards on paper in the past, within the past couple of years. You guys can probably think up specific examples better than I can, but I know there's been more than once where I've gone into a pay-per-view not looking forward to it at all and come out of it saying, wow, that was a damn good pay-per-view. And that's because of the talent. And so I was kind of hoping they would do that tonight, and I think for the most part they did, considering the circumstances. It was just that main event, man. Oh, God, that main event was a mess. Let's backtrack now, go all the way back to the beginning of the show and talk about what opened the show. And they started with Becky Lynch and Sasha Banks for the women's title. Now, I also didn't do predictions for the show because I was out of town, and like I said, there was only 4 matches announced, so why would you? But if I did, I think I was probably likely going to pick Sasha. I thought maybe since she lost the last Hell in the Cell, she'd win this one. But she lost. Becky Lynch tapped her out. This match was great. And one thing I want to say about the fans, and I got to give them credit, I thought they would be really disappointed, and I'm sure many were, that Sasha Banks did not win. But I think the match was so good, they acknowledged that, and that was cool. I think even people that were rooting for Becky Lynch to lose appreciated that this was a very good Hell in the Cell match. I even put up a Twitter poll. I have not checked the results in a couple of hours, but it was an overwhelming victory between the 2 Hell in the Cell women's matches. I asked you guys which one you thought was better, Sasha versus Becky or Sasha versus Charlotte from a couple of years ago, and Sasha versus Becky won by an overwhelming margin, at least by last check. So this was a really good one that I think was the best that the women have had so far. Lots of innovative stuff in this match too, and a lot of hard hitting. I like that Sasha kind of attacked Becky right before the bell, before the cage is even lowered, and they're outside of the cage before the bell even rings. They're wrestling out there, they're brawling out there, I should say, while the cage completely lowers. It's on the ground, and now I'm thinking to myself, well, Why don't they just make it a reverse Hell in the Cell match? Get Vince Russo in here. Have him make one of these things. You're allowed to wrestle anywhere except the ring. The cage is put there to keep the combatants out of the ring. Anywhere else you want to fight, have at it. But I thought it was going to turn into that type of deal. Eventually, the door opens. They get in there. Becky takes the chain that they usually lock the door with, takes the chain, wraps it around her fist, and goes to town on Sasha Banks. I was kind of hoping she'd hit her right in the forehead, like Hercules and Billy Jack Haynes style, and bust Sasha open. I thought that would have been awesome, but she hit her with a couple of shots to the gut, eventually loses the chain, and they eventually do get in the ring, and the bell rings. So now we're underway. They spill out on the outside. They pull out everything from underneath the ring. They've got tables and ladders, they've got chairs, and they've got kendo sticks. And there was a couple of really good spots in this match, including Meteora by Sasha onto Becky right into the ladder that was positioned kind of in the corner of the cell. That was a really, really good looking spot. And I think my favorite was when they must have practiced the shit out of this today. This might even, I want to ask you guys if this, which was better. This kind of reminded me of the Usos and the New Day cell match where they had, who was it they had pinned? Maybe Xavier was pinned in the kendo sticks in the corner. It was kind of like that, but what Becky did was set up some kendo sticks in the corner and then set a chair on top of them and then sat Sasha up on the chair. It was like a lifeguard stand or something. And then Becky gets on the outside of the ring and then jumps and hits her with a drop kick. And she slams into the back of the cell. It just fucking looked great. And it was extremely creative and very innovative. I'm glad that the ladies were doing some stuff that the men haven't even thought of to do. And we've seen some pretty crazy things in the Hell in the Cell. So props to the girls for being able to come up with something unique because we've definitely never seen anything like that. The finish was kind of weird. I thought, maybe Sasha was setting up for a big victory here because she was looking very vicious. She was pretty ruthless in this match, and I like that side of her. She's a shit-talking asshole, and that's, I think, when Sasha is best. She winds up pulling out, 100 chairs, maybe not that many, but probably a good dozen chairs out from underneath the ring. She's tossing them in the ring over the top rope. They're all landing on Becky, and she's creating a big pile in there. And she was kind of setting up little booby traps all night. She was sticking chairs in the side of the cage. She did have a chair, and its legs were poked right through the fence, and it was hanging there for most of the match, and she would use that right before the finish by smashing Becky's face right into it. But in the end, they find themselves on the top rope, and Becky hits the Bexploder onto the pile of chairs, and then rolls over right into the disarmer, and Sasha Banks taps out. Wow. Didn't see that finish coming. Kind of thought they would pass the belt to Sasha here, but I don't care. The match was great, and in my opinion, I think this is the best that Becky Lynch has looked since her WrestleMania win. What do you guys think? Do you agree? I mean, so far, it's kind of been a lackluster run for her, too. She kind of, lost some steam there by the time she won the title, and some of her matches and her promos and her programs have been a little bit cringy from time to time. But this match, I thought her and Sasha went out there and laid it all out on the line, and Becky looked like a legit badass to me, or maybe not a badass, but just a really good wrestler who, can get creative and do some fun things. And I thought this was the best match that she's had since she's won the title. So she wins. Her title reign continues. I'm still extremely curious how the championships are going to work in the draft. I don't know if they've announced anything yet. I've been talking about that in several episodes. When you name titles after the shows, I'm going to be really annoyed if they start drafting people. If they start drafting Raw champions to SmackDown and you get everything kind of mixed in like that. Just keep your colors separated, just like your laundry. So I hope they don't get too crazy with that when it comes time for the draft. And I really don't know how that's going to work. And if Becky, you got to think of Becky and Seth's relationship. They probably will stay together, on the same brand. So Becky might be just staying put, and they might move Sasha over to the blue brand so she can realign with Bayley, who didn't have a good night either. And we'll get into that here in a second. Next matchup was the big tag team match, which was interesting, by the way. Oh, you know what? Can y'all do me a big favor now that I'm just kind of glancing at our numbers? Pretty good audience in here right now. Will you smash that thumbs up for me? I would really, really appreciate it. And I've got some big news for you guys, too. You got to stay tuned until the end because tomorrow's Monday Night live stream is going to look extremely different. I'll talk about that in the end. So it's kind of some big news, but it's not completely hammered out yet, the details. There's even a chance that I won't be up here reacting to Monday Night Raw. I might be coming up here to do a live review instead. And the reason for that is I've got a big guest that's going to be coming to my house to do a video with me on the channel, and he's one of the heavy hitters in the YouTube community. But unfortunately, it's not appropriate to announce exactly what yet because we're literally right in the middle of hammering out the details. But tomorrow's Monday Night Raw video is going to look pretty awesome and pretty different, so stay tuned, and maybe I'll get into more details on that at the end of the podcast here. But the next match up is Roman Reigns and Daniel Bryan taking on Luke Harper and Eric Rowan, and this match was surprisingly awesome. I really was happy with it. I didn't really care about it. I haven't really been a fan of this storyline. It hasn't really, I mean, I'm happy to see Luke Harper back and everything, but this storyline is not really one that's grabbed my attention and I care much about. You know, I was maybe mildly interested in it when Samoa Joe got involved, and it was looking like they might be moving him to babyface and maybe even do some teaming with Roman Reigns. But instead, you got Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns instead. Daniel Bryan is now split from Eric Rowan. He's reunited with Harper, and I just really haven't cared about the whole thing, but damn, was this match good. This match was good despite the fact that most of us and many of us experienced problems with the WWE Network at the beginning of this match. I lost about the first 5 or 6 minutes. I was watching it on a desktop computer, and it stopped, and I tried to refresh it, and it kicked me out. I had to sign in, but then it wouldn't sign me in. It just kept kicking me back to the sign-in screen no matter how many times I signed in. So I pulled it up on my phone, and I was able to watch it on my phone. And I went to my TV to turn on my Roku to see if it worked over there, and it signed me out of that. And you know how annoying it is to enter your like username and passwords if you have like an Apple TV or a Roku and you have to use that little arrow to go to each letter. I did not have time for that. So I don't even know if it went out there or not, but it looked like it did. And most people were experiencing the same thing. But for me, it lasted only about 5 or 6 minutes. It came back up and I had no more issues for the rest of the night. So even though I missed the first few minutes, I was still able to experience a lot of this match. And I think one of the reasons the match was so good is because it was a Tornado Rules match. So all 4 got to brawl. I think it was the first Tornado Rules tag match since 2016 or something like that. So that allowed all 4 combatants to completely go nuts and brawl with each other hard. It was action-packed. Lots of good spots. I think my favorite was the spear onto Eric Rowan from Roman Reigns. Rowan and Harper were about to powerbomb Daniel Bryan through the announce table. I was really worried about him taking that bump. I'm glad that he was able to fight out of that. And then Roman nailed Rowan with the spear. The crowd went nuts for that. Lots of "this is awesome" chants. And in the end, you had Roman hitting Luke Harper with the spear in the ring and getting the 1, 2, 3. And the crowd loved it. And the ending was pretty interesting. Daniel Bryan kind of gets up and he took an ass kicking. He's really, really selling the neck and, you know, kind of offers a handshake and then says no and says he wants to hug instead. So Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns share an embrace and they hug it out, which was really nice. Brought a tear to my eye. I still am just not sure what to make of this full-fledged Daniel Bryan babyface turn. Seemed like it came out of nowhere. Seemed like there was still a lot of gas in the tank of a heel turn for him or a heel run. I thought Daniel Bryan was a fabulous heel, and I saw no reason to turn him back to a babyface just yet. And I don't know what the internal story behind that is or what the decision is or why they decided to do that. I like him heel or babyface, but I was into him as a heel. So I'm hoping maybe there's still an outside, small, tiny, minuscule chance that this is all a fucking ruse and he's going to turn on Roman Reigns in the end. However, there was an interesting spot after the hug when Bryan and Roman Reigns are leaving. If you notice, the camera caught Daniel Bryan stumble up the ramp at the very end, just for like a split second. And it immediately cut away back to Roman Reigns. And I tweeted, and I asked you guys if anybody else caught that. And I wasn't sure because Daniel Bryan, it even looked like he motioned to the back like for some help. So likely he's just selling the neck or whatever, but he really did seem okay during the hug, and everything was fine during the hug, and then for him to get all the way up the ramp and kind of collapse at the end, I don't know if he was selling something or if they're going to do some sort of a neck injury angle with him, or if it's legit and he was really hurt. So my gut instinct tells me he was just selling, but it was it just had a weird feel to it, and it didn't look right. That kind of spooked me a little bit. So whatever's going on with D-Bry, I hope he is okay. Just going back over here to the chat, making sure we're all good. Yeah, we're looking good over here. All right, thank you for the few more likes, guys, as well. I appreciate it. Heading back to my notes so we can talk about the next match. This was the one that was thrown together on the kickoff show. It was a backstage interview with Mustafa Ali. I think he was talking to Kayla Braxton. I don't even remember. and he's talking about his opportunities, and he was frustrated with that a lot of opportunities have passed him by, and he's missed some, and we've talked about the start and stop with him as well. He has had some past issues with Randy Orton, but nothing recently, so, or at least I don't think. So for Orton to confront him, and then they have a little back and forth, and they wind up just making the match together. So unfortunately, WWE had 30 minutes to build this thing instead of a couple of weeks, and the match on paper is great. It's happened before. It's happened a couple of times on SmackDown. I think the first time they faced was really good. So there's nothing wrong with these two having any sort of a match, but just to throw it together because you forgot to book the fucking card is kind of annoying. And the match showed for it too, because it was a good match, but it felt a little flat. For, I'd say, 75% of the match, the crowd was super quiet, completely silent, didn't really care. I assume many of them went to go fetch a popcorn or a soda pop, or maybe drain the snake or something like that. But it certainly seemed like the crowd didn't give a shit until the very end with a couple of really nice counters. Ali had a sweet-ass counter to the RKO, and Orton had a nice counter himself at the very end when he countered that roll-through thing that Ali was doing right into the RKO for the win. So Randy Orton picked up a big one earlier on, but still, it's like they threw it together. You beat Ali, great. What now for this poor kid? You know, I thought they might be putting the IC title on him. We don't know if that's going to be the case now. I'll tell you what, I was at SmackDown this past Friday, and he worked a dark match, and I think everybody agrees that the new SmackDown set is pretty sweet. It was awesome to see in person, but his entrance looked especially cool, and I tweeted out a picture of it, and when Ali comes out, just his lighting scheme, I'm still not a big fan of his like theme music and his, I don't even know what his character is really supposed to be, but the lighting effects and everything was super pretty. It looked so good. Just all in green like that, and just it looks really awesome on the SmackDown set. So I hope in the draft that Ali stays on SmackDown just for that awesome entrance. I'm sure it will be pretty cool on Raw too, but it looked really good on SmackDown, and I'm hoping the audience gets a chance to see that. The next matchup was quite surprising. This was another match announced that was thrown together on Twitter. WWE let us know on social fucking media about a match, a title match that's going to take place at a pay-per-view in just a couple of hours. Great. Nikki and Alexa Bliss defending the women's tag team titles against the Kabuki Warriors. So here we go. Now, I said on Twitter earlier on that when you consider how good Kairi Sane and Asuka are, in storyline, if these girls, you know, if Alexa and Nikki Cross successfully defend their titles against these two monsters with no notice, that's going to, I said I'm going to release Asuka from her contract myself, or at least send her down to NXT, because if it's not going to be Rhea Ripley taking the belt off of Shayna Baszler like I suspect it will be, then just send Asuka back there and have her do it. She never lost the damn thing to begin with. So I was really not going to accept anything other than a victory here for the Kabukis. Otherwise, you know, I've been saying all along, split them up. They got no business being together if they're not going to be champions. So now they're champions, and wonderful. So we'll see where they go. Because they did a little bit of what I guess was a heel turn. You know, the match was, you know, just your typical match, and then it got crazy at the end when Asuka, out of nowhere, spits the green mist into Nikki Cross's face and gets the pin. And Asuka and Kairi Sane are your new tag team champions. Came completely out of nowhere. It looked awesome. There was so much of that green shit all over Asuka. She just looked great with it, just all dripping down her mouth and everything. It was nuts. So she was taking a page out of Tajiri and Great Muta and others book in the finish there, and it looks like that might have been a heel turn for the two of them. You know, they're still very babyface-ish, you know, and I don't know if it's just Asuka that's turning heel and Kairi is hesitant. I don't know how that's going to work, but, you know, the way Alexa and Nikki have been basically babyfaces, they might be turning Asuka and Kairi now, and you know what? I'm perfectly fine with that. If they're heels, great. Let them be heels, and let them be monsters. Put them together, mash up their musics, maybe give them a little bit different of a look. Let Asuka start being a little bit more vicious and spitting out the green mist here or there. I'm into that, if that's what you want to do. You know, but Jesus, shit or get off the pot with Asuka. It's getting frustrating as hell at this point, but she is now a champion once again, and her and Kairi Sane are tag champs, and hopefully they will not hot potato this thing the way the other teams, the way they've been bouncing it from Sasha Bailey and Iconics and all this. You know, keep it on these girls for a while because they're studs. You know, they are not to be messed with, and I don't think you should take the belt off of them in 3 weeks on Monday Night Raw or SmackDown or something like that. So now that they're champs, they've got to stay champs, and I'm hoping that they do. We got another thrown together match, one that I didn't give a shit about at all. And that was the OC, AJ Styles, Gallows, and Anderson taking on the Viking Raiders and Braun Strowman, who was their mystery partner. Now, Braun Strowman was a very busy man this past Friday on SmackDown, getting into it with Tyson Fury, who was in the front row for SmackDown. Now, I'm not a big boxing or MMA follower, so the Tyson Fury and the Cain Velasquez involvements, was kind of interesting, but at the same time, it's not. And it looks like both of these matches are probably going to take place at Crown Jewel, another match I really don't give a shit about, or another show, I should say, that I don't give a shit about at all. So, that kind of works out. And I guess on Monday, Tyson Fury is going to be on Monday Night Raw. So we'll see tomorrow more between the two of them. This match, I believe, ended in a DQ, right? Just a disqualification, and Strowman and the Viking Raiders won. Really flat, stupid match there. And since Braun is going to be feuding now, I guess, with Tyson Fury, looks like his new move is the Big Show's move, the Big Punch. He knocked AJ out cold, and AJ sold the shit out of it after the match. He's all stumbling around, doesn't know where he is, and he's telling the guys he's fine. That was my favorite part. Gallows and Anderson are trying to hold him up. He's like, I'm fine, let me walk. He can't even walk. So he's overselling the punch because, Braun's going to be wrestling a boxer, so they got to quickly put over the fact that he can punch, which I guess is what the point here is. And that was that. So that match was absolutely pointless and something that they could have just done tomorrow on Monday Night Raw. We also had Tamina showing up out of nowhere. Haven't seen her in a while. And she won the 24/7 title backstage, pinning Carmella. This would lead to her also showing up later on, right before the Charlotte and Bayley match, out in the crowd, right when they're announcing or introducing the foreign announcers. And Carmella and R-Truth track her down. She yanks Funaki off of the commentary booth, and she's holding him in front of R-Truth and Carmella, and Corey Graves with the line of the night, Funaki, #1 human shield. I love that. And eventually, Carmella is able to tattoo Tamina with a super kick and pin and win back the 24/7 title. So Carmella lost it, won it back, and her and R-Truth scurry away. And Tamina, I believe, won her first championship in the WWE, and it was the 24/7 title for about, 15, 20 minutes or so. The next match up was Chad Gable having a rematch against King Corbin. This was also announced in that tweet. Again, these two have had their issues. These two have had several matches on TV. Kind of sick of this one as well, but this one has a little bit different of a twist because before the match, Baron Corbin gets on the mic and I guess uses his kingly authority. I guess he has the authority to do this. Uses his kingly authority to dub Chad Gable Shorty Gable. And there you go. Shorty G. We've been hearing about that weird trademark for quite some time now. There's been talk that it could be Chad Gable, especially when the short jokes started happening on TV with Shelton Benjamin. And that's what he's called now. And I guess the announcers are treating this as legit. And they even announced Gable as Shorty. But anyway, Corey Graves oversells the shit out of this as well, all throughout commentary, and just goes on and on with the short jokes. So it's just funny how they're just making this such a thing. The match is, I don't even think it was any better than their previous matches they've had on TV. And the finish saw Baron Corbin trying to use a scepter. The ref kind of wrestles it away from him, and that allows Chad Gable, that's hilarious, Chad Gable to roll him up for the 3 count. And that's when Greg Hamilton even announced the winner as Shorty Gable, or Shorty G. I think they're still calling him Shorty Gable. I don't know if it will be shortened to Shorty G. I'm assuming it will be. But the fact that the announcer referred to him as that, I was like, what the fuck are they doing? And then later on, backstage, he's getting interviewed, and he actually seems to embrace the name. He didn't even seem to mind it very much because he got the victory. And he's like, it feels so good to get the victory. I don't care what you call me. So now it seems like he might be embracing this, might even be making a slow turn into a heel at some point. But he's not even going to have time to think about being a heel because he got blindsided by Baron Corbin, and Corbin beat the hell out of him and absolutely murdered him backstage. So poor Shorty G couldn't even appreciate and celebrate his victory. He got killed in a matter of minutes backstage by a very angry Baron Corbin. So I don't know if this is going to lead to another match between them or not. I guess we'll just wait and see. Let me just kind of glance back over here at the chat. Thank y'all. And yeah, we're going to be talking about that here in a minute. And we'll go back to that main event and discuss that here at the end for those of you who might be rolling in a little bit late. I know we got a lot of people on YouTube right now going live, and I know you guys have a lot of options, so the 300 or 400 of you that are in here right now. I appreciate you being here. Next up, we had Charlotte and Bayley for the SmackDown Women's title. I was nervous about this. I tweeted out right before the match that just based on, the position it was in the card and the fact that Sasha lost earlier, I felt like the signs were pointing to Charlotte, and I even tweeted out. I said, Charlotte's going to win this, isn't she? And most of you were like, yep. So I mentioned the Tamina stuff before the match. So Charlotte and Bayley are in the ring. Tamina's out there. She drops the 24/7 title, and then they get to the match. Pretty good and kind of short, though, but pretty hard-hitting. Charlotte's got a bloody mouth at one point. And pretty simple finish. Bayley had a quick near fall there. She had her feet on the ropes, and Charlotte in a pinning combination. And that ref's hand was really close. I thought Bayley was going to steal the victory that way. But the referee noticed. He stopped it. And while Bayley is bitching about it, that allows Charlotte to capitalize. Hook her in the figure eight. And Bayley taps out. And Charlotte has won her 10th. Count them. 10 world title. Wow. 10-time women's champion in WWE. She's creeping up on everybody, including Triple H and Cena and her dad. So that's crazy. 10 titles for her. This particular title win, none of her title wins really upset me. I know people get pissed when she wins titles, and I never give a shit. And this one really isn't that different because I think this title win at least adds a little bit to the story of Bayley and Sasha, because the great camera shot of Sasha leaving the Hell in the Cell after she lost to Becky, that close-up of her face and she's crying and her eye makeup is kind of running. I loved that. And here you have Charlotte tapping out Bayley, and Charlotte celebrates, kind of rubs it in Bayley's face a little bit. She's walking up the ramp, and what does Bayley do? She flips. She tears up the ring steps. She's kicking and she's screaming. I put on Twitter that Bayley should go full Chris Jericho, 1998 WCW. She's almost halfway there. She's already got that side fucking ponytail. He was doing that. Remember, he would throw temper tantrums after he'd lose, and that would allow him to get a little bit more creative on the mic, and it really helped blossom his character, just having that. And we've seen the temper tantrums before. They've used this angle plenty of times in wrestling, where a frustrated talent throws a fit, after they lose. But considering we've never seen anything even close to this from Bayley before, I see a lot of parallels in that Jericho character. So maybe she could come out there and start being like just really crazy, like just really, kind of full of herself. How Jericho would bullshit himself. I'm the greatest ever. If he'd lose a match, he'd say he'd win. Shit like that. She can come out there with a list of 1,004 holds, stuff like that. Maybe take Bayley in that direction. And now with Bayley throwing that fit and Sasha Banks kind of crying up the ramp, I would love for them to do some sort of a video and release it on social media or show it on Raw or something like that of Bayley and Sasha crying on the locker room floor. Remember that big rumor from WrestleMania? Now it seems like they're both pissed off. They can kind of turn this into a storyline and do something similar to where both of them are really upset and frustrated and they're throwing temper tantrums, and you show some footage of them backstage flipping out. Might be a little bit fun, and it might make some of that real life, tie into their storyline. So I think the two of them might eventually wind up on the same brand together. I hope they do after the draft. And I still don't think it's completely over for Sasha or anything like that. I think either one of them can get the belts back. But for the time being, they're back on good old Charlotte and good old Becky. Oh, man. So that really kind of brings us to the main event, which I already talked about. But I have plenty of other things to talk about as well, so never fear. Let me glance back over to the chat, and then after I finish out my notes here, I will hang out a little bit longer and talk with all of you guys again. I want to apologize for not being on camera, but I got a lot of stuff going on in my house right now, and I wanted this to be more of a podcast review because I want this audio to be available, and I want to start doing this again for pay-per-views. I got a little bit burnt out in all of the live reacting. I'm still going to do Monday Night Raws and everything, but, when I was live reacting, I wouldn't do a review, and that sucks. I needed to start doing more reviews and getting back to that, and trying to do some of them on camera, some of them off, and give you guys a little bit of a variety. I'll probably do the same thing with the Winged Eagle every week as well. And just a reminder, stay tuned to this YouTube channel. I will make an announcement on the community page. I'll put a post on YouTube. I'll put a post on Twitter, and I'll put a post on Facebook when I have tomorrow figured out with whatever is going on. I'm not quite sure what kind of video you guys are going to get. It might be a live Raw reaction, or it might be a live review. It all depends on the schedule of my special guest, and it's going to be fun as shit. So make sure you guys tune in and follow me and subscribe and all that good stuff so you can find out what's going on tomorrow. It's going to be exciting stuff. I'll go to the chat now and see if there's any questions you guys want to ask or if there's any other comments on the main event, because I know there are. And I also have to catch up some super chats, which I'm now seeing now. And I apologize. I apologize if I'm missing anybody, but I want to answer a few of these real quick. From Spectre, you're saying, forgot my first super chat. I must not have seen it, dude. I'm so sorry. This is second Hell in the Cell DQ finish. Yeah, well, there was another one, wasn't there? Was that the Shane one or something? Maybe not. I actually don't remember what the other one was, but I know they have done this before, which is just silly. You know, to me, it ruins the allure of the Hell in the Cell. And by the way, fuck that red fence. I don't like that at all. They did the red one last year. I almost forgot about the red cell. Or maybe they did the red cell the year before. I don't remember. We've seen the red cell before. Wasn't a huge fan. I don't even really like the color red. That's why all my my themes on my videos are usually blue. Just not a fan of the color red. It hurts my fucking eyes. So that damn thing was red. And then the Bray Wyatt Seth Rollins match was draped in a red light. So it was a lot of red on this show. But yeah, not a fan of that red cell. It looks like a toy. I called it Helen Battelle because that's what it looked like. So they don't need to do that. Paint that shit back silver again, WWE. How wheezy. Good to see you in here too, man. Thank you for the $5. This is the second straight Hell in the Cell main event with a non-finish. Unbelievable, man. Okay, so that must have been last year. I'm so sorry. This is how my memory is, guys. I don't remember what the hell happened last year. I'm sure you guys will tell me. But yeah, thanks, buddy, for that donation. You are the man. Zane Golaya, thank you for your $5 as well. You don't have a comment there, but I appreciate your support. And Antoine Fair, thank you, brother, for the $10. You are awesome. You say, you write in, why want the fan base to know that they're trying to tell us a story, and it's not about wins and losses. Look at the Michael Myers movie. They are tell you to stop wanting a win and pay attention to the story. Oh, I see what you're saying. No, I agree. You know, Bray Wyatt, there would be many that would argue that he doesn't need the title kind of thing because the character is so over the top and he can just be this monster that just keeps coming no matter what you do to him, no matter what you throw at him. And even when you think he's dead, he's still alive. I get all of that. Totally. It was just, I think it was just, they could have still done that. I don't know. I just think the finish was bad. I like what they did as far as him being really scary, but just think of how much better that would have been if he would have walked away with the belt. Because then I would have just been like, well, now what do you do? How in the world do you take this off of him? And when somebody does, they can really have fun with that. Or they could screw it up, much like they did tonight. But yeah, normally, Antoine, I'm in line with you. Normally, I don't have the opinions that I have tonight. I think it's because I actually had a personal hope that he would win the title because I thought it would make for interesting TV. So I think for once I was actually personally disappointed. And I'm never personally disappointed because I never give a shit. But tonight was different. But in most cases, Antoine, I'd say 9 times out of 10, I'm right in line with your basic opinion there. That's how I feel in most cases when fans flip their lid. Nathan Hansen, thank you for the $2, dude. Io Shirai, Kairi Sane, Shayna, and Bianca are all heels now. Yeah, they are. That's good. They're all badasses. Did I miss anybody else? No, I did not. Yeah, and I'm sure there's going to be the Twitter audience and there's going to be the people that he was buried people, but he definitely wasn't buried. This isn't one of the situations where I'm mad about a burial. He definitely wasn't buried. The dude survived everything shy of a gunshot. So it's not really buried. I'm just disappointed the way they booked the finish. You know, why didn't you put the belt on him, damn it? But he might not be in the cards. That's what I always say. You know, I'm like, think for the future. WWE might have some other plan that they want to put in place 2 months from now. And The Fiend winning right now doesn't fit into that plan. And my argument is, then why put The Fiend in the match? Just let him terrorize a few opponents. Let him get that match, that rematch with Finn Balor. Have Finn Balor be the Demon. I know Finn Balor's in NXT now. Great. Stay there. Don't come back here and lose any matches. But if he wasn't going back to NXT, I was thinking the Demon can come back and actually work with Bray Wyatt at this pay-per-view. And Bray Wyatt could be the first person to beat the Demon on the main roster. But Balor's back in NXT now, which is fine. You could have put Bray Wyatt in there with any number of people. So I don't know. I don't know how they're going to follow through with this tomorrow. You know, it's going to be a Seth promo, and I survived, and the Fiend scared the shit out of me, and then he's going to show up in a Mandible Claw again, and what kind of a match can they even set up if this continues? And they don't have long. It's not like what sucks about Raw tomorrow night is that you can't put in place too many long-term storylines or anything for your next pay-per-view, which I guess is Crown Jewel. They can put the Flair and Hogan teams together because those are brand neutral. I guess any guys can join any team they want there. But for the rest of it, you can't really, start any angles tomorrow because you got a draft on Friday that's going to change everything. So tomorrow is going to be a really weird night of just random ass wrestling and probably a big Tyson Fury and Braun Strowman segment. It might suck. I wish tomorrow's night's Raw would be good, but it might be kind of a throwaway Raw that's just there in the way before the draft. It's really a meaningless Raw. Other than the Kabuki Warriors and Charlotte, we got no new champs to really kick off the show. Charlotte's the SmackDown champ, so yeah, by that logic, she'll probably show up on Raw. But, tomorrow is a show that, in my mind, when I think about it, doesn't even need to happen. Which sucks. So yeah, it might not be a very good Monday Night Raw for my special house guest. But anyway, let me read some of these comments here. What is this about Fox wanting the Fiend? I think they'd want Brock before the Fiend. Fox can't have everybody. You still got some people thinking Bray is done. Well, thinking Bray is done is stupid. It's just he should have won the title now. So you got to find that fine line. See, you just got to have that reality. You got to not let your, I'm very disappointed. Trust me, I'm as mad as I'm as angry and frustrated or saddened as many of you are, but that's it. I'm just, it's just a disappointing ending. I'm not going to let my anger take over critical thinking and say, oh, Bray Wyatt's buried. There's no coming back. That's just your heart, just spewing off without the benefit of intellect. You got to just think it through. You don't have to go extreme with it. Yes, it's disappointing. Yes, I don't know what the fuck WWE was thinking. And damn, they disappointed the hell out of the audience. But I don't think it completely ruins Bray Wyatt's career to where we're never going to see him again. You just got to find that balance there. There is a line that you don't have to jump over. Yes, it sucks, but let's not get crazy, is all I'm saying. And I'm glad that the pay-per-view is getting low marks. It should. You can't expect a pay-per-view to be good when you only have half of it announced. Less than half. They had less than half of the matches announced. They had 4 announced, and they had 5 that was announced on social media. That's fucked up. No wonder the show sucked. And you combine that with a disappointing main event, and yeah, you've given us, one step above December to dismember, WWE. Nice job. And you've got restart the match and AEW chance to show for it. Right on, brother. Good job, WWE. So you ended the week in a terrible way. This was one of the most exciting and had the potential to be one of the most exciting weeks in wrestling history in quite some time. And you had a chance to put a nice cherry on top in the end, but instead you put a dingleberry on top. Thank you, WWE. And what do you guys think? I'm going to ask you guys in the chat. What would you say of the entire week? Raw on Monday, AEW and NXT on Wednesday, SmackDown on Friday, and Hell in a Cell tonight. What would be your top 3 matches? I'd probably go Becky, Sasha, Riddle and Cole, and one more. But what do you think it would be? I'm kind of curious. Probably something on the AEW show. Maybe the main event. Maybe, I don't know, Cody and Sammy Guevara. I don't know. What would be your top 3 matches of all 3 shows for the entire week? Because it was a very long week. Ian Dunn, you're giving the pay-per-view 6. I'm gonna go with you there. I'm gonna go 6. I'm gonna go maybe 5. And I'm never that hard on WWE, but tonight I just feel like they blew it. Fonte Page, good to see you in here. If he wasn't going to win the title, he shouldn't have gotten a title shot. Exactly. That's what I was saying. He should have had a match with Rey Mysterio or something. I think I said the exact same thing. I've been saying that with a character like that, just don't put him in a title match then. Save it. Save his title win. Now you've got to figure out a way to get out of the match without putting the belt on him, which you have an excellent chance of really disappointing the audience and doing some damage. And that's exactly what happened. They fucking got what they deserved, the idiots. That's why I was saying, put the belt on Bray Wyatt now before WWE has a chance to fuck it up. But too late. Oh yeah, Undisputed Era's tag match was pretty good too. And I also had the same type of argument with Braun Strowman throughout the years. I would always get mad when they put him in a title match, because how many Universal title matches has he had now that he's come up short on? 1 is fine, maybe even 2 is fine. But it got to the point where I'm like, look, if you're not going to have him win the title, stop putting him in these matches because he keeps losing. Same thing with the Royal Rumble and Battle Royals. I'm like, look, if Strowman ain't winning them, don't put him in there. Don't have him tossed over the top rope. What happened at WrestleMania with the SNL guys and all that shit. I'm like, you guys are ruining it. Bret Hart says 4 out of 10. Well, Bret Hart is right. That's what tonight was. Not very good. But, again, props to the talent, not their fault. It's not their fault the company has their head directly up their own asses and forgot to put a card together for this. They all went out there and did what they could. I even thought the Bailey and Charlotte match, despite the ending probably freaking out Twitter, I thought that match was, somewhat decent. Becky and Sasha came through in the Hell in the Cell. Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns overproduced, I believe, in their tag match. That was much more exciting than I expected it to be. And the main event had a potential to be a pretty awesome night in the business, having a character this fucking dark and crazy win the title, especially at this perfect time of year with all this mystery surrounding him and everything. And it's even Halloween time, for fuck's sake. To me, why wouldn't you do this? I don't know. But yeah, like I said in the beginning of the podcast here, what that means is now, at least as it stands right now, if neither one of these guys drop the belt, we've got Brock Lesnar and Seth Rollins again at Survivor Series. So now maybe that second victory of Seth Rollins over Brock is starting to make more sense if they're going to give Brock his victory back. You know what I mean? It's possible. WWE Fan 22, thank you for the $5, dude. I appreciate that. For all you guys saying Bray is done, go watch No Mercy 04 with Hell in the Cell or 04 with Undertaker versus Heidenreich. I remember that match. That was kind of similar. I think, didn't Heidenreich keep surviving a bunch of stuff? And, Taker was really kind of freaked at the end after he got the victory. Maybe he had a similar match with like Luther Reigns too. I can't remember which one that was. But yeah, now we got Survivor Series next month. We've got Crown Jewel closing out the month on the 31st in Saudi Arabia. Not sure what I'm going to do for that yet. I'll probably eyeball it, but not going to come up here and do any sort of a serious review for that. Probably just something quick. Yeah, and the Joker movie coming out as well, Big J. That's right. That's right. So that kind of would have tied in perfectly too. A lot of people have been raving about that Joker movie. I've only seen one or two trailers for that. It was kind of like not what I was thinking it was. I haven't really seen many of the Batman or the Joker movies. I never saw The Dark Knight and all that stuff. I know that's blasphemy. I'm sorry. So this one looked completely different, type of movie. It wasn't like I was expecting Batman to be there and shit. And this looks like something completely different. And most of you who have seen it and have been commenting on it on social media say it's one of the best movies you've ever seen. So that's great. They should have had, that's all the more reason, to put the belt on Bray Wyatt. Then everybody would have thought WWE was ripping him off. I don't know. But yeah, it seemed like all signs were pointing to The Fiend being champion tonight or walking out champion tonight, and he did not. And that is a damn shame. I'm going to get into a few other things before I get out of here. Let me just check the stream. All right, we've been going for about an hour here. I'll go a little bit longer before I sign off. But I also want to mention a couple of things about Friday because I did not get a chance to say much on YouTube about SmackDown. Now, for those of you who've been following along and scoring at home, I was at SmackDown. I made the trip up to LA, decided just to make a weekend of it or just a day of it and just get a hotel room there right at the arena. My hotel room overlooked the Staples Center. It was fucking beautiful. And went down there and watched the show and crashed and then drove home early in the morning. And had a great time there. Got to meet up with a couple of listeners because there's so much stuff around the Staples Center. We sat and chilled out. A couple of fans stopped by to say hi, Mike and Joe, and met up with the No DQ guys, Aaron Rift and Jeff Meacham, and hung out with them a little bit and watched the SmackDown show. I loved my seats. I thought my seats were great. Had a great experience there. Ran into David Arquette right outside the Staples Center. He was just chilling there, just talking with the fans. Really cool dude, very approachable. Just said hi and allowed everyone to take a picture. And I'm not a picture guy. I've met so many famous people and athletes, and I never asked for pictures because I'm just uncomfortable doing that, I guess. But he made everyone feel extremely comfortable, so I snapped a selfie with him. And I normally don't do that. About 20 minutes before that, I ran into Rachel Nichols from ESPN because the studios are right there. So all those guys are kind of in and out of the doors there, and said hi to her on the escalators. But again, I'm not going to be asking for a picture because I don't want to be lame. But fine, it was really cool to at least get one with David Arquette. So that was fun. It was a star-studded show. Jesus Christ. They had The Rock there. They had Goldberg and Hogan and Flair and Sting. And my God, everybody was there. It was interesting that they had some things advertised, like The Undertaker and Stone Cold Steve Austin. They did not appear on the show. They didn't appear after the show either. So they had a lot of stars there, but maybe they couldn't cram everything in to their 2 hours. And The Rock, just came out there and did his thing with Becky Lynch and beat up Baron Corbin to open the show. That was fun. I haven't seen The Rock live in many years. So I've only been to a couple of shows in the last, since 2005. That was the last time I went to a show since before last year. So there's a lot of things I saw for the first time in a long time. I saw the WWE title change hands for the first time in 20 years as well, since 1999. Saw Hulk Hogan live for the first time since 2002. It was very cool to be there for that show. They drew a huge rating, almost nearly 4 million viewers, not quite. but very strong rating on the Fox network for what I guess was kind of just a mediocre show. I think the show was fun. It had a WrestleMania vibe and feel to it, but I don't think the show was really that great. I attempted to come up and do a live stream from my hotel room immediately following the show, but I've never live streamed from my phone before, so the picture was all shit quality, and tried to briefly talk about it, but I don't think I'll ever do that again because it looked terrible. But back home now, right in my driver's seat here where I like to be, and I figured I'd give you guys a few more comments on the SmackDown show at the end of this. A lot of love and support for Kofi. Kofi Kingston's long title run came to an end in 6 seconds or 8 seconds. I can't remember what it is. I guess that's a record. I kind of think he deserved a little bit better. Can the brother get at least Trouble in Paradise, or at least rock Brock or stun him for a second and at least have him shaken before he hits the F5 and pins him? I mean, it was literally Kofi dove right into him. Brock caught him. F5, bam, 1, 2, 3. Blinked and you would have missed it. And I was sitting there looking at my phone and I was like, well, there's 10 minutes left in the show. Kofi's going to give Brock a good little match here. And it ended that quick. So then I was like, well, what's going to happen? You know, as disappointed as I was about Kofi losing, I was immediately thinking that something was going to happen because there was so much time left. And that's when Rey Mysterio's music hit. And all of a sudden, the attack on Rey Mysterio and Dominic makes a lot more sense because they used Rey to bring in Cain Velasquez, who beat Brock for the UFC title. And Brock sold it great. He was fearful and scared, and Cain got in the ring and knocked him around and punched him pretty hard. Cain wrestles a little bit. He's done some lucha stuff. And I know WWE's talked to him. I know AEW has talked to him. And he would be a no-brainer to come in. And this just reeks of Fox, you know, wanting a big, you know, time sports star. Now you got Cain Velasquez and Brock Lesnar, 2 UFC champions, going to battle in a WWE ring. And this is likely going to take place in Saudi Arabia along with Braun Strowman and Tyson Fury. So with SmackDown being on Fox, it looks like I wouldn't be surprised at all if that's where Strowman gets drafted to, so he can sell all this shit on Fox with Tyson Fury. But I don't know what to make of those situations. I think the Velasquez match with Brock is intriguing, just given their history. But, you know, Cain too. I mean, does he look like, you know, the type of guy that Vince would like? You know, his body, he's got these short arms and this very weird body style. I mean, he's a badass. You know, that shouldn't matter. You know, Samoa Joe and Bray Wyatt and guys like that are all badasses. He just doesn't. Brock actually looks like the tougher guy, you know, when you look at him side by side. And I don't know how the wrestling match is going to go. And if this is going to be a title match, are they going to put the belt on Cain Velasquez? They're not going to do that, are they? Holy shit. Maybe that's in his negotiations. Maybe like, yeah, we'll give you the belt for a little while. I don't know. I can't see that happening, but it might. Or maybe it'll be a match and the belt won't be on the line. I don't know. Or maybe Brock gets his victory back. maybe they're doing the Hogan and Warrior thing from WCW. Maybe WWE is going to bring Cain Velasquez in just so Brock can beat him and get his victory back from the UFC. Maybe that's what they're doing. But I don't have a ton of interest in these matches, and I'm actually glad that they're taking place in Saudi Arabia instead of like at Survivor Series or something like that. So the fact that they're happening over there in a weird type of show anyway, I'm perfectly fine with. And I don't care as long as we go into Survivor Series and shit gets back to normal. So that's pretty much my experience on Friday. It was a very fun time, and it was cool to be there. And it's been a long time since I've seen some of the things I saw. And I'm glad I'm kind of getting back into going to shows. And who knows, maybe I will go to WrestleMania next year. I've got the Jericho Cruise coming up in January 1st. But after that, who knows what I'll be able to swing. But anyway, I think I'm going to get out of here now. I want to appreciate all of you for hanging out tonight and the big audience that we had. Like I said, I know you guys have a shit ton of options on YouTube after pay-per-views. So the fact that you stuck with me is very cool. I really appreciate it. And I also want to apologize if I missed any super chats. I think I got almost all of them except maybe 1 or 2 that I somehow cannot see now. And hopefully I got all of you. If I didn't, just shoot me a message over on Twitter or comment on the video or something, and I'll make sure I give you the props that you deserve. Again, just stay tuned to my YouTube channel. I'll put an update up here as soon as I know. Stay tuned to my Twitter page at GoodMicWork, and stay tuned to me on social media so I can announce to you guys what I've got going on tomorrow, because at present moment, I still don't 100% know the time and the plan for what you guys are going to see. But it's going to be a really fun live stream tomorrow night for Monday Night Raw. So you guys be good. Have a great rest of your night, and I will catch you tomorrow night right here on the YouTube. Be good. Peace.